9:16. Prince William has paid a surprise visit to England's World Cup squad ahead of their flight to Qatar this morning. The head of the FA helped distribute their all-important team numbers for the tournament.
And the Prince of Wales has no plans to attend the World Cup at the moment, according to Kensington Palace, although they say his schedule's too tight. I suspect that could change if England did really, really well. But let's
or
speak
Wales.
now. Or Wales, indeed, the Prince of Wales. Yeah. Let's talk to the royal author and royal editor for Vanity Fair, Katie Nicholl. Good morning and welcome to the programme. First of all, then, on the Prince of Wales and this will be a big boost before they head off to the World Cup.
Oh, it will. I mean, I think for the Prince of Wales to turn up and give every single member of the team their shirts and a personal photo opportunity before they head off to Qatar is a real mood booster. I mean, of course, William loves football. We know he's a big Aston Villa fan, and of course he's the president of the FA, and he's hugely behind the team and behind the game. I think people will wonder why he's not going out to Qatar.
Yeah,
he always
I thought that
attends.
was
I
weird.
think most people will think
especially
that's a little
for
unusual.
England-Wales. England are playing Wales, literally two birds, one stone.
Or is it just too controversial?
Well, I think possibly it's less of that. He's got a really busy November-December schedule. The big focus of the Prince of Wales is the Earthshot Awards in Boston, end of November, beginning of December. So there is a real clash. But, this tournament, it runs from the 20th of November through to the 18th of December. There's plenty of time for him to go out. I think if England do well, and fingers crossed
when
England do well, possibly there'll be a royal visit, because I do think that that support, particularly as president of the FA, it matters to the players, it matters to the public, and it's a real royal seal of approval.
And he's a nice guy. Prince William, I imagine the players like him.
I think you look at the chemistry when he's meeting them. They like him.
Yeah,
they like him. They really value what he does for the sport and for the industry. And they'll want him to be there.
Yeah,
absolutely. Should we talk about the King and the steps being taken on his birthday yesterday, very diplomatically in his letter to the Lords, but effectively sidelining his brother and his son in favour of his other siblings to be his deputies?
Well, this is the whole issue of councillors of state. And councillors of state's duty is to step in when the monarch is not able to be there. And we know that the King is going to be away quite a lot next year, is going to be very, very busy, and there will certainly be instances where he can't be here and he's going to need a substitute. At the moment, or until yesterday, those substitutes were going to be the Duke of York, Prince Andrew, and Prince Harry. Well, of course, one has now been forced out of public life and royal duties, and the other is, thousands of miles away, forced themselves out across the pond. And so this has been a big issue that people have been wondering, well, what's going to happen? Because there's a real practical element to all of this. And I think the King, as you say as well, has found a really diplomatic way of sidestepping a potentially awkward situation. I think it's interesting that he hasn't stripped Andrew and Harry of those roles. They remain councillors of state. I think it's very diplomatic. But what he's done is he's made it clear that he's very content for his sister, the Princess Royal, Princess Anne, and Prince Edward to stand in. And I think that will be far more comfortable for most people.
So effectively he's got a bigger subs bench.
He's got a bigger subs bench, and that does throw up that... and it's interesting you use the word subs bench, neatly tying in with football, but the Queen used to refer to her extras as her substitutes, and that's exactly what they are. And I think it's interesting that we are seeing Princess Anne having a bigger profile, the Wessexes as well, because we know about Charles's plans, or his vision for that slimmed-down monarchy, and yet he clearly does need the support of these extra working royals.
And I think it really was quite stark on Sunday at the Cenotaph. The streamlined monarchy really looks rather streamlined now, without Her Majesty the Queen as well. And you wonder, should we be seeing the Princess Royal and the Earl of Wessex up on the balcony with the Queen Consort and the Princess of Wales? Because it used to be much more crowded when we used to have the Duchess of Sussex there. Are there too few of them, maybe?
Well, I think if you're looking at the number of engagements that the royals carry out each year, they are stretched. And so I think perhaps there's been a bit of a rethink in terms of that absolute scaled-back monarchy that Charles had envisaged, that whole image of the Fab Four. It can't just be the four of them, and that's obviously the King and the Queen Consort, the Prince and Princess of Wales. Anne has more than proved herself over the years. She's diligent, she's loyal, she's the second hardest working royal after Charles. And the Wessexes are more than happy to step up to the plate. Well, why would you say no to them? And I think that's what we're seeing, a slight change of tack. And, you know, Councillors of State is a big responsibility. And as you say, there are many, many engagements that need to be covered. So why would you not use these subs if you've got them?
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, just before you go, are we going to see, are we likely to see the King around Great Windsor Park more now he's made himself the park ranger?
Well, I think absolutely. I mean, I think you're going to be seeing a lot more of the Waleses around Windsor Park because, you know, Windsor Castle is still there as a family home, and I think that'll happen. But the Prince of Wales celebrated his 74th birthday yesterday, quietly and below the radar. The King, I'm so sorry. Yes, I mustn't do this.
I've done it so many times.
Apologies. The King celebrated his 74th birthday, and we had the announcement that he is going to be the new ranger for Windsor Great Park. And of course, that was a role that Prince Philip had for the best part of 70 years. It's a beautiful picture. It's taken by one of their favourite photographers, Chris Jackson. That wonderful autumnal sunlight coming in. And, you know, I suppose the King at his happiest in nature and surveying his kingdom. And so, yes, we are going to see him a lot more around Windsor Great Park. The Duke of Edinburgh did a lot. He introduced red deer into the park. He changed a lot of how the park was run. And, you know, the King has had a lot of experience running the royal estates. He took over Sandringham. It's going to be interesting to see what he does in Windsor.
Yeah, just needs a kids' playground. That's what it needs in Great Windsor Park.
You might, yeah, well, because the one at Sandringham was wonderful. The one the Duchess of Cambridge and now the Princess of Wales set up was beautiful. So you might possibly see something like that. I think what we've seen with Charles is he likes to put his stamp on things, whether that's, you know, organic farming or making cider or whatever it is he's doing. Yeah. And I think we'll see him definitely put his own stamp on Windsor Great Park. But the Duke of Edinburgh was passionate about it and did a lot for sustainability. Yeah. So Charles will be looking at what next.
Katie, finally, we were talking about the cenotaph on Sunday. There are pictures that emerged of Prince Harry at Pearl Harbor over the weekend without a poppy on. What was your reaction to that and what do you read into that?
Well, these pictures were not staged pictures, so I think it's a vast improvement on what happened a couple of years ago when they were at the LA cemetery, and, you know, that really just looked like a terrible staged photo opportunity. I think most people will look at those pictures and think, isn't it a bit sad? He's not in uniform. He's marking a day that's clearly important to him as a veteran, but not in the way that perhaps he should be. And, of course, he doesn't have a wreath laid on his behalf at the cenotaph. He's completely ostracised from the royal element of Remembrance Sunday. So I suppose he has to find a way of doing it. And that secret trip to Hawaii was his way of doing it. But it does, I think, just highlight how far removed he is from Britain, from our own Remembrance Sunday, and how important that is to most people over here.
Yeah, and that distance getting further and further.
It is. You do get that sense.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for your time, Katie.